With the first pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select, the Washington Wizards select, the Houston Rockets select.
Headlines late last night making a trade with the Nets to acquire Mikal Bridges.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of Ball Dominant, the Ball Dominant Show with your host, John Drummond. This video is brought to you by At The Buzzer Sports. The channel is the channel you are currently watching, where we talk all things basketball all the time, and we also do gaming videos. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about the draft review for the first round. As we all know, the draft was last night. There was a lot of interesting things that happened. There was a lot of picks in the first round that was very, very interesting to talk about, and I'm going to talk about a few of them today. Another thing I want to talk about is some trade reactions. Now, we had some very good trades these past week, maybe week and a half. We had Josh Giddey go to the Bulls, Alex Caruso go to the Thunder. We had Denny Avdija make his way to the Portland Trail Blazers. We had Rob Dillingham go to the Timberwolves, and the last one that we will be talking about is Mikal Bridges heading over to the New York Knicks. And another thing we'll be talking about is how the New York Knicks can match up with the Boston Celtics, because I would think that either one of these teams would have to see each other to get to the NBA Finals. And the last thing we will be talking about is who are the best prospects still left for the second round of the NBA Draft. Don't miss a beat when it comes to Ball Dominant. We talk all things basketball all the time. I'll see you guys then. Let's go. Okay, so we all know last night was the first round of the NBA Draft, and there are some interesting picks I'm going to talk about. I'm not really going to spend too much time talking about 1 through 4 because I feel as though those picks were already solidified, and I feel as though the top 4 teams got their guys at 1 through 4. But there are also some very interesting picks I want to talk about. Tijan Saloon falling into the top 7. Dalton Connect falling all the way to 17 to my Los Angeles Lakers. There was Ron Holland being picked number 5. Those are more of the picks that I'm going to be talking about in this episode. Okay, so the first pick I'm going to be talking about is the Los Angeles Lakers taking Dalton Connect with the 17th pick. I think Dalton Connect brings a shooting aspect that the Lakers did not really have last season. I mean, there was spurts where Austin Reeves was great from 3, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, but we have a guy who's 22 years old, mind you, and is going to come in and be ready to shoot the ball from day one. And he's not just that, he's really a 3-level scorer. He can run the transition, who the Lakers were 2 in point percentage in transition, and then we have a 3-pointer, somebody who can sit in the corner and really let LeBron have some more space to drive to the rim. If we look at the numbers, the Lakers were 30th in 3-pointers attempted per game at 31%. JJ Redick said in his podcast that he would like, or not his podcast, but his press conference interview, that he would like the Lakers to be more of an offensive rebounding team and for them to shoot more threes. LeBron James shot 41% from the 3-ball last season. He would like to have LeBron shoot more threes, and he would also like to surround the Lakers with some more 3-point shooters. Now, the inside of the inside of the NBA, a lot of people did not pick Dalton Connect because they thought the age was going to be a difference. If we looked at some of the earlier picks, these were a lot of young guys. I mean, Tijan Saloon is 18 years old. He got picked early. Ron Holland was a first one-season G League Ignite member, and then he moved on to the draft. Mataz Buzelis, Alex Sarr, Zachary Risache. The main thing that let Dalton Connect fall all the way to 17 was his age. And once again, this is a guy who was mocked to go top 10 for the majority of the draft season. So for him to be falling all the way to 17, I think the Lakers pulled the trigger on that draft pick, and I think he's going to be able to play from day one. We're talking about a guy who's 22 years old, 6'6", shot 40% from the 3 last season. He's going to fit perfectly next to LeBron. And I think this even fits their 2020 scheme where they had 2 potentially 3-and-D guys played next to LeBron and Danny Green and Avery Bradley. And then they had LeBron at 3, AD at the 4, and JaVale McGee at the 5. And JJ Redick said himself that he wants to have AD play more of a power forward role. I'm not saying that they need to go get a guy who can start next to Anthony Davis, but there needs to be some type of lineup where if we need a guy that can go out and play the 5 and move AD to the 4 to really expand him defensively and offensively, that needs to be a lineup that can get thrown out there. And if we look at the first round of the playoffs this year and then the Western Conference Finals last year against the Denver Nuggets, we were killed on the offensive glass. Last season against the Denver Nuggets in the first round, the Denver Nuggets had a 25% offensive rebound percentage to the Lakers 17. And I just felt as though plays like that is what killed us in that series. I know I keep saying us, but that's my favorite team. I just want to say that if you watch those 5 games in the first round last season, you can literally tell when the game was over. I think in game 5, it was definitely game 5. KCP pulled up for 3. We were up 2 at the moment, and we had a chance to go up 4 to kind of have a small type of cushion. KCP misses the 3. LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and D'Angelo Russell were down there to get the rebound. They don't box out. Aaron Gordon comes down with the rebound. He kicks it back out to Michael Porter Jr., and that's a 3-pointer, and the Nuggets get the lead. The Nuggets then go on to stay in the game, and Jamal Murray hits a game-winning shot in Game 5 to send us home. It's small details like that the Lakers really need to work on, and I think don't connect when it comes to three-point shooting and decent help defense when it comes to a team-wise defensive setting. I think he brings that, and I think the age that he brings and this the experience that he can also bring to this Los Angeles Lakers team is very clear-cut. So if I had to grade the Los Angeles Lakers first-round draft pick, I would give it an A-. I don't think you really could have gotten much better. The next draft pick I want to talk about is Nikola Topic to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, for a guy who is a top 5 projected pick before the injury in Nikola Topic, some people, even including myself, if you've been watching my mock draft videos, I had Nikola Topic going number 2 to the Washington Wizards. And I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are one of the very few teams who can stash a top 15 or a lottery pick and not even play him for his first 2 seasons. Because if we look at them sending away Josh Giddey to get a guy like Alex Caruso who shot the ball well from 3 and is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, you basically get back everything Josh Giddey was giving you in Nikola Topic, and you don't have to pay him nearly as much. And I think down the line, he can be that creator off the bench who can create for Jalen Williams, Cason Wallace, even Alex Caruso when it comes to open spot-up shooting, because Nikola Topic is probably one of the best downhill players in the prospect, and out of all the prospects in the draft. And I just love a team that has a whole bunch of young talent to the point where if you draft a guy like Reed Shepherd, he's not going to have all the flashing lights on him because there are so much young players in Houston to where he can properly develop in silence. I think with the Oklahoma City Thunder, there's going to be a lot of eyes on Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren in his second year, SGA after being the runner-up in the MVP voting, and how they just grabbed Alex Caruso and are fully a championship contending team now. So Nikola Topic is going to be able to heal. He's not going to worry about anything being taken away from him as far as being traded or falling out of the rotation. I think down the line, he's going to become a very good player for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now we're going to talk about Zach Edey to the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies understood that going into the Western Conference this year, they're going to be contending with a fully healthy team in Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson, Marcus Smart. They needed to bring in some size because the Western Conference is full of very talented big men. We have Karl Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, Domantas Sabonis, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, and that's just guys to bring up right now. I think Jaren Jackson showed best that he is a shot blocker and he is a roamer on the defensive end. And I'm not saying you have Zach Edey start from day one, but you can definitely fluctuate some lineups to the point where he can come in, rebound the ball, and just stand there with his hands up and defend the rim. I mean, he stands at 7'4". He's going to be asked to protect the rim. But the only thing I have a question with, and why I had him going 26 to the Wizards, was how is he going to really affect the game when he's being put in pick and rolls? How is he going to affect the game when he has to guard a Chet Holmgren in a playoff series and Chet Holmgren is floating around the perimeter? I think if you look at a playoff setting, Zach Edey is going to be a very big pick and roll target, and he's going to have a target on his back every possession he's on the floor. He was a very good post player in college. I don't think that necessarily translates to the NBA so fast, but the main goal was to get size. And I feel as though you definitely did that with bringing in Zach Edey. But with the Hornets, I mean, Tijon Saloon was going to be there at 9. You could have definitely traded down. Not only did I mock Donovan Clingan to go number 9 to the Memphis Grizzlies, I felt as though that was probably the best fit for any player in this draft. I felt as though Donovan Clingan fit so well with the Memphis Grizzlies that I had it locked all mock draft. But in the end of the day, the Memphis Grizzlies, they came in, they knew what they wanted, they went and got size. I don't know if I would have went with Zach Edey out of all the centers that were still on the board, like Yves Missi or Kelly Ware. You maybe could have traded down 2 or 3 more picks, got some value, and then drafted one of those guys. But in the end of the day, he is a rotational piece. He could probably come in, get you a couple of rebounds, give Jaren Jackson a break when it comes to guarding the starting center. And I feel like that's a pretty good move in my opinion. Now we're going to talk about the Pistons drafting Ron Holland with the 5th pick. In the end of the day, the Pistons went and got their guy. Some people would think it's a reach, but in this draft, especially this one, I feel as though there is no bad pick. There is no clear-cut superstar in this draft that makes it like, oh, why would you take him when this guy is on the board? If a team sees that this prospect can help us win in the quickest way possible, or if we can see a real future with this prospect and you take him, I really do not care where he gets picked. And Ron Holland has probably some of the highest upside in this draft. When we talk about a guy who is very athletic, very physical on defense, can guard 1 through 4, the only thing that you necessarily need to worry about is the jump shot. Now, they drafted Asar Thompson last year. I think that was number 5. And then they draft Ron Holland this year at number 5. And both of these guys are defensive phenomenons who need to work on their jump shot. Now, the Pistons recently hired Fred Vinson, who is a guy who was one of the best jump shot coaches in the league. He got Lonzo Ball to get his 3-point percentages to over 40%. And if we all remember Lonzo Ball in his rookie season, the jump shot was not going the best. So I feel as though you could take chances on these upside guys. He's going to be working with Asar. He's going to be working with Ron Holland, maybe even Jalen Duren so he can get a mid-range shot going. But I just feel as though if you can't get Asar Thompson and Ron Holland to be league average at the 3-point line, then this is going to get very dangerous for the Pistons. But one upside about this is the Pistons have a lot of money in the salary this offseason coming up, so they can always sign a guy. Some guys I find very interesting for the Pistons are Malik Beasley, KCP, Klay Thompson, and I also like Luke Kennard. I feel as though if they can get one of those plug-and-play shooting guards to play next to Cade Cunningham while you have Ron Holland and Asar Thompson figure out that jump shot, that could work a lot better for the Pistons. Because that first half of Ron Holland's rookie year and Asar Thompson's second year, if they do figure out how to shoot by halfway through the season, maybe even longer, it's going to be very ugly on offense because everything is going to be so condensed now that there's very limited amount of floor spacers. But in the end of the day, the Pistons are not close to contending for a championship. So you have time to really work with these lineups and see what works and what doesn't. Because I know there was a lot of people on social media, Twitter, saying that this was a bad pick because Ron Holland can't shoot. But at the end of the day, the Pistons are in the perfect position to be taking a swing on prospects. You have a bunch of money in cap, and you also have young talent that you can build around and get some glue veteran guys who can make you guys a lot better. After the break, we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks making a trade for the first time in 40 plus years. We're going to break it down. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NBA Trivia. Now, NBA Trivia is where we just ask you guys, the viewers, a quick question you guys are going to answer in the comment section. And in honor of draft night, this is going to be a NBA draft related question. So the question is, can you guys tell me where these 4 players were drafted? And these 4 players are Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Andrew Wiggins, and Scottie Pippen. Leave it down in the comment section below, and I will like your comment if it was correct. Welcome back. And as we all know, the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks made a trade. This is the first time they have made a trade together in over 40 years. There has been 4 times in NBA history the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks have made a trade. And this is the first time in over 40 years. I just think that is shocking to think about. And if we look at the final trade details, I have it in my notes right here. It is Mikal Bridges over to the New York Knicks. The Knicks received Mikal Bridges and a 2026 second round pick. And then we have the Brooklyn Nets who received Bojan Bogdanovic, a New York Knicks 2025 first round pick unprotected, a 2007 first round unprotected pick from the New York Knicks, a 2029 unprotected first round pick from the New York Knicks, a 2031 unprotected first round pick from the New York Knicks, a 2028 first round pick swap from the New York Knicks, a 2025 second round pick from the New York Knicks, and a 2025 Milwaukee first round pick 1 through 4 protected. And I also think there's been a lot of fire around Sean Marks, especially since the Brooklyn Nets have made it clear that they wanted to rebuild and build for the future around Mikal Bridges. And I think we all knew that that just was not his role. I think he did pretty good in the stint he had with Brooklyn right after being traded, averaging about 27 points per game. But towards the playoffs and all season this year, we kind of saw that that's not his role, and that's not a knock on him. There are only a select few players who can be the number one on a championship team, and the fact that you're not that is not a bad thing at all. But I'm really going to spend the time talking about the Brooklyn side of things because I feel as though I'm going to be talking about the Knicks again when we talk about how they match up with the Celtics. So Brooklyn also did a move to get their 2026 first round pick and their 2025 first round pick. And I still think there is a lot of things for them to do to get more first round picks. Even coming up, I mean, they have a bunch of tradable players such as Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Ben Simmons. And I think Ben Simmons is the most valuable out of all of them. Because when we look at a team that just really wants to get out of a bad contract, Ben Simmons' contract expires in a year. So adding on to a team that wants to get rid of a bad contract, they're probably going to send some picks over as well just to get a guy in Ben Simmons that's going to expire in a season to where you don't really have to pay that money. And then there's a lot of really good teams who need a great role player in Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. Just off the top of my head, the Dallas Mavericks, the Orlando Magic, the Los Angeles Lakers. I think Cam Johnson is going to be a very interesting name coming up this offseason for all the teams in the league, especially Dorian Finney-Smith, a 6'7" wing who can guard multiple positions and hit the outside jump shot. And we can't forget that Nicholas Claxton just re-signed to a 4-year deal. It was maybe 4 or 5. I don't necessarily know the exact numbers right now. I just know he re-signed. So now going into next season, you're going to have Cam Thomas and Nicholas Claxton, some two pillars that you want to move forward with your franchise. And now you get to really see what Cam Thomas can really become as being a number one for a regular season team. Because a lot of the time with Cam Thomas, it was just short bursts and short really tenures of him becoming a top level scorer in the NBA. But now you can really see how he responds to schemes or how he can respond to the best player on the other side of the floor, guarding him night in and night out for an 82-game span. And I don't necessarily think he's going to be the number one, but just to see what you have and see how you can accordingly build around that going into the future, I think that's really good for the Brooklyn Nets. And I think getting all their picks back was phenomenal because we talked about the Brooklyn Nets a lot for turning down a deal that had Jalen Green and multiple first-round picks. And this was right when Jalen Green was having his breakout run for the Houston Rockets when they won 11 games straight. So to get 5 first-round picks back for Mikal Bridges is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I also really think they could have got into this first round. They could have really gotten into this first round of the NBA draft, and they could have stole like a really good player from a team. I mean, there's a bunch of teams that would have took Cam Johnson and would have gave you their first round pick easy. Like, I'm pretty sure Philadelphia would have gave up their first round pick. I also think the Sacramento Kings would have gave up their first round pick. And as far as the Knicks side, when it comes to things, I think immediately you become a top 3 defense in the NBA if you weren't already. You probably have the best wing duo defensively in the NBA. You have the number 1 guy in Jalen Brunson, who I think offensively can be a number 1 on a championship team. You have the grit, you have the coaching. And if we look at the run that the New York Knicks had last season, where they were really on their last legs when it comes to roster stability, because guys like OG was getting hurt, guys like Josh Hart were banged up, Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Julius Randle, and the fact that they were able to push the Pacers, who were almost fully healthy, to a Game 7, that says a lot. And I think they could have gave the Boston Celtics matchup problems without all their players fully healthy. So now that they're going to come back even better, you have the wing duo who can defensively give Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum some problems. I wouldn't go as far as picking the Knicks to beat the Celtics, but I definitely think that there is some options that you can throw at them. Since we're already talking about the Knicks, I might as well talk about how they match up against the Celtics. Now, I've heard rumors that the New York Knicks aren't done at all, and the Boston Celtics shouldn't be done. I mean, they may want to add some more talent to their roster, and the offseason has just started, so these teams can look drastically different by the time we tip off in October. But if we look at how the constructed rosters are right now, the starting lineup for the Celtics will still be the same with Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis. And then over for the Knicks, we have Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG, Julius Randle, and Isaiah Hartenstein. I know there has been a lot of discourse about Isaiah Hartenstein not returning to the Knicks, but The simple thing for that is if they trade Mitchell Robinson, they will have enough to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein. I think you could send Mitchell Robinson right over to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They can give you maybe a pick or two that you guys lost in the Mikal Bridges trade, and I think it's a win-win. The first thing I want to think about is the defense for both teams. I am pretty sure that Mikal Bridges would be guarding Jason Tatum and OG Anunoby would be guarding Jaylen Brown. I would rather put OG Anunoby on Jaylen Brown because OG Anunoby is the stronger defender out of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, and we know Jaylen Brown is going to force pressure on the rim more than Jason Tatum is. Whether Jason Tatum is more of a crafty, more skillful type of ball handler than Jaylen Brown is, and I think Mikal Bridges has the side-to-side ability to guard Jason Tatum full court for a full game. Now, when it comes to Jalen Brunson, you're going to have to hide him. You're going to have to hide him. But the best part about that is Isaiah Hartenstein and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, they're going to make it very easy for Jalen Brunson to hide in a corner. I think these are guys who fight through screens pretty well and will do a great job hiding him, maybe keeping him on a Drew Holiday or a Derek White. I don't necessarily trust Julius Randle or Isaiah Hartenstein to be out on the perimeter against KP, especially when it comes to like a post up at the elbow, maybe deep 2-pointer when it's just him on an island. And that's his version of punishing people. I'm not going to say that punishing is always backing down, but I feel as though if you're on an island against KP in that mid-range area, that is punishing because that is almost a layup for him. And I also think with the amount of shot diet that Jason Tatum has, you could say the same about Julius Randle. Like, I don't know if people remember that Julius Randle does not take the smartest shots. Like, as a power forward, and we see the same thing with Jason Tatum. Let's say in the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe this was game 4 or game 3. Jason Tatum has TJ McConnell on an island on the left wing outside the 3-point line. I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. He's going to back him down. He's going to go to the rim. He's either going to get fouled or he's going to make the shot, or he's going to do both. Instead, he dribbles to the mid-range a little bit, then it's a sidestep, fadeaway mid-range. That's unacceptable. And you can say the same about Julius Randle. A lot of step back threes, a lot of unnecessary 3-pointers. When we know both of these guys are most dominant when they're driving to the rim. Both of these guys stand about 6'9", 200 plus. It's going to be very hard to stop them downhill. But as for the Celtics, I think there's going to be a player that's able to put there. I think there's always going to be a player on the floor to guard Jalen Brunson, whether it be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, or Drew Holiday. There's going to be a guy to guard Jalen Brunson every single possession. And while the Knicks have gotten a lot better, don't get me wrong, I still don't fear anybody with the ball in their hand when it comes to New York. So if I'm Joe Mazzulla, I'm like, look, we're going to make Mikal Bridges beat us with the ball in his hand. We're going to make OG beat us with the ball in his hand. We are not going to force any off-ball looks. Like, look, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us by putting the ball on the floor. We're going to rotate heavy. We're going to switch heavy to the point where nobody is going to be able to play off-ball. OG, you're going to have to take a terrible shot with 5 seconds left on the shot clock. And in my opinion, I feel as though that is what's going to hurt the Knicks the most. With Boston, you don't really have that opinion. You don't really have that option. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, even Kristaps Porzingis can kill you with the ball in their hand. Now, once again, this may be a little too early, but that is just my analysis if these two were to meet up in the conference finals, in the conference semifinals, wherever you see it. And if it were up to me and I would have to call a 7-game series, if the 7-game series were to start tomorrow, fully healthy, I would say the Celtics win in 7 games. I'm kind of leading towards a little bit more towards 6. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. After the break, we will be talking about some of the latest NBA rumors. We're going to break down 5 recent NBA rumors, and we're going to talk about them. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back. You guys know what it is. During the commercial break, we're doing another NBA trivia. And you guys know it's summertime where the offseason happens, the NBA draft, free agency, training camp, summer league. So we got a NBA trivia question based on the summertime NBA. So the question is, who was the 2014 NBA Summer League MVP? Was it A, Otto Porter, B for Ray McCollum, C for Glenn Rice, or D for Doug McDermott? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I will like your comment if your answer is correct. Now let's get back to ball dominant. Okay, so Here are 4 rumors that I kind of want to just talk about in the NBA. I'm going to try and do this maybe like every other episode, let some rumors build up, and then we're going to talk about it. This is going to be a segment that is very known in the ball dominant show. So the first one I want to talk about is Jimmy Butler is not seeking an extension before 2025 free agency. Now, as we all know, Jimmy Butler is 34 years old. He has played on the Miami Heat for about 4 to 5 seasons now. Been to the finals twice. Been to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times because he is a 2-time winner when he beat the Celtics in 2023 and in 2020 and lost to the Celtics in 2022. Now, I would say that Jimmy wants a bag. Jimmy wants more than he's already making. But in the end of the day, Jimmy Butler just got hurt. He's already 34. You don't know what you're going to get with a Jimmy Butler-led team in 2024 to 2025. Now, I think what Jimmy Butler has done for the Miami Heat is phenomenal. He has taken these teams who didn't have any business being in the finals those years they've been to the finals and took them to the finals. So this is not a knock on Jimmy Butler. But this is just how it becomes when you are aging in the basketball world, especially if you're a number one. We see this happen all the time with NBA players. It's like, look, if we sign you to this extra extent of money to the point where we now have little wiggle room when it comes with supplying you with help, and to be completely honest, we haven't really done the best job with getting you some help. Yeah, we have an amazing coach in Eric Spoelstra. Yeah, we can really draft some talent when it comes to Jaime Jaquez and Tyler Hero and getting an undrafted Duncan Robinson and Gabe Vincent and Max Strus and getting Bam Adebayo. But this is not a championship team. That is the one thing that I cannot give the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler has never been a number one offensively. He probably never will be a number one offensively. And the Miami Heat don't have the assets, in my opinion, to go get a number one guy. And when we talk about a number one guy offensively, I think if Devin Booker goes to the Heat, they become a championship contending team. And I'm not saying just like number one as in fully. I'm talking about scoring. Scoring-wise, Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, maybe guys like Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic. I said Jason Tatum. Oh, my God. They're probably going to think I'm meat riding. But what I want to say is you don't have the assets if you're Miami to go get a guy next to Jimmy Butler to where now we could be an NBA championship contention. So we have some young guys. We just drafted Kello Ware last night. We have Jaime Jaquez. We have Nikola Jovic. We have Bam Adebayo. Why don't we sit back for a year, see what we can do, see if we can draft that number one guy to where he walks into a situation where we have high-level role players, we have a defensive player of the year candidate, we have some guys we can really move. Now, there's also a sign-and-trade option, but who's going to trade for Jimmy Butler in that contract? You don't want to make Jimmy Butler, by the time he's, 36? You don't want him to be the worst contract in the NBA. You don't want him to be the worst contract in the NBA. Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, Ben Simmons, they hold on to that spot just fine. So I can understand why the Heat would not want to give him that amount of money, because in the end of the day, it is a business. I can understand that the Miami Heat appreciate everything that Jimmy Butler has done for them. But one thing you're not going to do is screw your franchise and possibly lose your job, because the Miami Heat are now 33 and 49 and Jimmy Butler's making $50 million a year. Like, that is not something that that's not a position that any team wants to be in. You had a star player that took you to the finals a couple times. You didn't really get anything out of it. And now he's still on a max contract and he can only give you 16, 17 points per game. So that is my take on that rumor. I could understand where Miami head is at for not wanting to give him all that money, because Jimmy Butler is 34 years old. We have to understand that. Love Jimmy, love everything he brings to the game, but he's 34. He has to be on a team where he can be the firecracker on the floor. He can play good defense. He can give you 18, 19 points per game in the regular season. And then in the playoffs, he can jump up to 23 and 24, because that's where he's comfortable. He does not need to be relied on to give you 28, 29 a night, because that is what the upper echelon of NBA players are going to give you in a playoff setting. Jimmy Butler is not that anymore. He's not that anymore, in my opinion. You can clip me, because now that I said this, the Heat are probably going to go on a finals run again. The next NBA rumor that we will be talking about is Kristaps Porzingis. I said Kristaps Porzingis. My apologies. Kristaps Porzingis will most likely miss the start of the regular season. Now, if I'm the Boston Celtics, this is not something I am necessarily afraid of, because in the end of the day, this is just the beginning of the season. We all know Kristaps Porzingis is going into surgery. I think he has had one of the most rare foot injuries in NBA history. So once again, prayers up to KP to make sure that he is okay. But when we look at the Boston Celtics and how well-rounded this team is, all you have to do is put in Al Horford. That's all you really have to do. I feel as though Boston can still be a top 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, even without Kristaps Porzingis for, let's say, the first 15 to 20 games. They should be fine. They should be fine as long as Kristaps is healthy by playoff time. And we have seen this in championships history, or NBA teams after they get their first championship, they're not gunning for the first seed the next year. They're not gunning for the first seed the next year. Like, look, we're going to get through this regular season, whether we're a 1 seed, a 2 seed, or a 3 seed. We're going to get through the regular season. We're going to make sure our guys are healthy, and we're going to make sure they are ready for playoff time. And that is what I feel is most important for the Boston Celtics. Now that they have had that run to the NBA Finals and won it, I feel as though the first 15 or 20 games, or however long KP is rumored to miss, it's not what the first thing, that's not the first thing on Boston's mind, especially if they want to go out and repeat. So what I'm going to say is the Boston Celtics obviously would love to have Kristaps Porzingis healthy, but the bigger picture is having him around April, having him in May, having him in June, because that is what matters most to this Boston Celtics organization. That's always what's mattered most. It's always what matters most. Yeah, the regular season is nice, but we've seen a team go 73-9 and lose in the championship. So it's like, okay, we're going to get through the regular season. Whether we have home court advantage or not, we want to have our roster fully healthy, because a talent aspect is not always going to get you a championship. A talent aspect is not always going to get you a championship. You have to be the luckiest team, you have to be the healthiest team, and you have to be the smartest team. And I felt as though the Boston Celtics were that this past season, and they won a championship because of it. The Boston Celtics were the smartest team because they have listened to the media. They have listened to the media, and I'm sure Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have heard all the criticism. Oh, yeah, Jaylen Brown can't go left. Jason Tatum isn't the best player on his own team. Jason Tatum made the necessary plays to win a championship, and he probably knew that there was a good chance he wasn't going to win Finals MVP, but he still continued to generate better shots for his team. That is a smart team move. Jaylen Brown decided to take the Luka assignment. He's like, look, if we're going to lose this series, it's because I couldn't guard Luka. That is a smart team decision. The Boston Celtics heard those rumors around the league all season that they weren't ready to win a championship. They did not have the firepower to win a championship. They play with their food way too much. In my opinion, I felt as though the Boston Celtics really, I wouldn't say they didn't handle business, because that's exactly what they did. But in a lot of people's eyes, they felt as though these games shouldn't have been close at all. But if I'm Joe Mazzulla, I'm like, look, we are the head and shoulders best team in the Eastern Conference. What I'm asking you guys to do is win, but not get injured. That's what I'm asking you guys to do. Do not get hurt out here playing a team that is nowhere close talented as we are. We all knew Boston was going to beat Miami with Jimmy or without. We knew Cleveland was going to lose to Boston with Donovan Mitchell or without. We knew that the Boston Celtics were probably going to beat the Pacers in 5 with Tyrese or not. So I feel as though that's what comes into one, being the luckiest franchise that you didn't have to run into the Knicks or the Bucks. Not saying that those two teams would have won in a series, but I'm saying that takes some games off of your schedule, and that comes up big in the finals. And when it comes to being healthy, this team was literally the healthiest team in the playoffs. The healthiest team in the playoffs were the Boston Celtics. Even though they were missing a big guy, maybe even like their number 3 option in Kristaps Porzingis, I would still say that they were the healthiest in the playoffs this year. So, in the end of the day, just to get back on topic a little bit, Kristaps Porzingis missing the beginning of the season. Obviously, well wishes to Kristaps Porzingis. We definitely want to see him back on the court. But if I'm Boston, I'm like, look, let's do what we have to do now in the offseason. If you do have to miss a couple of games in the beginning of the season, so be it. You'll be back by playoff time, and we can try and go win our 19th Larry O'Brien. Now, this is one that I saw on Twitter. The Warriors are prepared to offer PG-13 a 4-year maximum deal. And once again, I think this is a good move for the Warriors. But again, who does this put you above? Because when we look at the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Paul George, PG-13, Trace Jackson Davis, and I'm pretty sure you're going to sign AirPods, or not sign AirPods, but start AirPods. I like the starting 5, but do I really believe in that starting 5 to go win a championship? Yes, they can be competitive. They can maybe be a surefire Western Conference team. And when I mean surefire, that means top 6 in standings. But I still don't give this team the edge over a Minnesota. I still don't give this team the edge over a Dallas or a Denver or a Oklahoma City. And that's just because we like PG going to the Sixers so much because he can be a number 3. He can be a number 3. That is why PG makes the offseason so interesting. I would love to see it. As an NBA fan, I would love to see Paul George and Steph Curry play together. But when it comes to the winning aspect, I still don't see where the Golden State Warriors are considered championship contenders. Like, yeah, we can get a really nice run to where maybe they get to the second round and make it interesting. Maybe they even make a Western Conference Finals and they make it interesting. But I just can't see a world where the Celtics go back. The Warriors go back to the finals and win just because they added Paul George. Now, Paul George was the most available he's been in a long amount of time. I think he played 77 games this season, the most he's played since 2018, the 2018-2019 season when he was with the Thunder. So that is one thing to look at. He has also averaged 23 points. He can really be a good spot up shooter for the Warriors. He can play off ball. He could be that plug and play type of player that a lot of teams really need. But if you're going to ask Steph Curry and Paul George to really carry the load for this team, which I don't think is going to be an extremely heavy load, but I don't know if that's championship caliber. Now, I still like the move as an NBA fan. I said this earlier. I love it as an NBA fan. I'm going to watch a lot of Warriors games if this happens, but I'm still not confident that they win a championship with Paul George. I'm just not. They're definitely going to make the playoffs, but when it comes to championships, I don't know if I really see that. And last but not least, the Atlanta Hawks are shopping Clint Capella. I'm not going to spend too long on this. I like the Lakers. For Clint Capella. There has been a rumor that the Lakers are eyeing DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella in a trade. And I'm pretty sure Austin Reeves is untouchable, so it'd have to be like Rui Hachimura and whatever else you can pull out of your rear end and go get DeJounte Murray and Clint Capella, where the starting lineup could maybe be DeJounte Murray, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Clint Capella. Or you can move Clint Capella to the bench, and the starting lineup can be DeJounte Murray, Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, and then you just bring Clint Capella in as a 6-man for certain lineups in certain games. I really like that. Clint Capella is a big body. He can block shots. He's athletic. He's a lob threat, and he's strong enough to stop that Nikola Jokic first move, whether it be a shoulder to the chest or it's just a spin move. I think Clint Capella is strong enough to stop that first step where Anthony Davis can come in and help. Because when we look at it, it's about being versatile enough to guard these teams, but not being too reliant on beating one team. So what I mean by that is you want to have some roster versatility in the NBA nowadays. You cannot be a team where we are just completely built to beat one team, because back in the day when the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers had their rivalry going for 4 straight years, people in the East tried to design their teams to beat the Cavs, and people in the West designed their teams to beat the Warriors, because we knew what the finals was going to be every single season. But this year, and I think we've seen it best in recent years, the Clippers were built to beat the Lakers, and they ended up losing to the Nuggets and couldn't even get to the Lakers. I think the Timberwolves are not strictly built to beat the Nuggets, but they are really like Nugget proof. Like they're Nugget fireproof. So it's like you beat the Nuggets in 7 games, but then you get bounced in 5 against the Mavericks, because the Mavericks are a completely different matchup and you don't have the roster versatility to adjust. So I feel as though roster versatility is one of the biggest, most important things in the NBA nowadays. So I feel as though Clint Capella and DeJounte Murray bring that a lot for the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, with wrapping everything up, I appreciate everybody for watching the Ball Dominant Show. This show will come out every Thursday, Saturday, and Tuesday. Every other day, I'm going to be here on the Ball Dominant Show, kicking it with you guys, showing you guys some things around the NBA, teaching you guys some things around basketball and the basketball world. I'm full of ball knowledge, and I'm just trying to share it with everybody else. If you guys like this type of content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.